Hello, I'm Utkarsh Sharma. Thank you for taking time to review my application and providing me this opportunity. So let's dig into the GitHub repository. Yes, so this is the GitHub repository. I've done my part of the commits and added a description about the product that I have built. So it is Parcel Routing System. So as per the name suggests, this application routes the parcel, or say it navigates the parcel based on some business logic. So it is a conflict driven application. So it is decoupled from the so our business logic is decoupled from our development process. So if in future we want to make any change in the logic of the parcel distribution, we can do it simply by updating the config file. So yes, let's talk about the tech stack and why I have used these tech stack. So like I've decided to go for overall uh, JavaScript environment because it is easy to build and makes the overall complexity much easier. So for backend I've used Node and Express. For frontend I've used React, and I have used Zord for validation, and to maintain the code consistency I've used ESLint. Now I've used Zord because it is easily compatible with JavaScript, and having Express and React in frontend and backend, it is more suitable choice. For database, I have used SQLite, which is abstracted with our Prisma. So the main reason of using SQLite is like it is independent and it can be easily used without maintaining some external dependencies, or like having our Docker environments to be maintained or using any external connection string. Also, we have used Prisma because in production level, if you want to migrate our code base, if we migrate our database from SQLite to Postgres, for example, so we have to do like a couple of changes in the line, and this will be migrated. For logger, I have used Peno, which is like a structured example of how we can log our requests and responses into our terminal, or let's say in our environment. For passing the XML, I have used fast XML parser. So the reason of using this fast XML parser is it provides our its extra security and consistency with our continuous integration into our production environment. Also, I have used process entities as false, which reduces the XML server side uh, XML object attacks. And for testing, I went for Jest to cover the unit and integration testing. And other things that I've used is codes, express rate limiter, and our frontend is maintained on React.js using Tailwind and Vite. So to maintain the client side state, I have used TanStack query, which is more superior option and reduces the boilerplate code in our frontend. So this is our architecture for, let's say it is a system design of what we have built. So first comes the operator or the browser, the person who is accessing the application to make the changes. Then whenever a request is made, it passes through a validation gate. So the entire schema is checked that data coming is in correct format, and if it is not, it is being objected and it is not moving forward. Then we have an insurance gate to check that whether this particular parcel falls under the insurance category and navigate according to it. So it is not a rule, rather it is a gate. So by gate I mean that it checks whether the parcel will go forward or not. Then we have a rule engine, or let's say the basic logic behind our applications. So like how the parcel will be navigated and what will be the logic. And finally, all the changes that are done, it is stored into a Prisma, like into our database. So yeah. Now let's talk about the trade-off. So for right now, I went for SQLite instead of Postgres because based on the assessment requirement, it is easily and independent, and it does not need to maintain any connection string. Then another thing is, yeah, I went for file-based routing rules logic. So what does it mean? That we are maintaining our configuration under the rules.json file. So it decouples our business logic from our application logic. Then we have polling. So for polling, I use TanStack. Wait a minute. Yeah, I have used TanStack queue, which does the polling whenever any product falls into the insurance criteria. And these are the instruction of how we can make the changes into our rules and logic, and how we can move forward to make it more productive production environment application. And this is the good start of, like, this basic information on how to set up the project and the folder structure. Now let's see this. Yes, so this is the flow. Like, I used Mermaid to show the visual representation of how our data will flow into the application. So first, the browser makes a request, it goes for HTTP post, and our checks gate 1 is like a validation gate, so it checks whether the data is in current format. And after that, it goes under the gate 2 to check whether this product falls under the insurance logic. So, like, we need an insurance for this or not. And if it does not need an insurance, it goes into a gate 3, and we just process that. And if it is needed, then if the insurance is needed, we pass that into like our pending queue and change the status to pending insurance. All the changes are then finally made into finally updated in our database. And yeah, and everything is logged under the Pino centralized logging. So yeah, this was the brief information. Let's go to the code base. Okay, yes. So this is our code base right now. I've distributed into a client and server. Inside server, you can see we have a Prisma file, and we have our controllers. For batch controllers is for batch logic, and parser controller is for independent parcel adding and its processes. Then we have the DB board folder explaining, like, how the Prisma is connected. And inside middlewares, we have a rate limiter. So, like, I have added a rate limiting considering the production environment, so that there are a limited number of requests to any particular user. And we have validate request to see the format in which we are getting the information, like we are getting the data. For routes, we have the standard health route, then parsers route, and the rules route. For service, we have config validator. So config validator, it is used for the file maintaining, like how the configurations change into our config file is held. And we have our logic for insurance gate, our rule engine that sees, again, like, helps to manage the business logic for routing, and our XML parser. So this was the server side part, and coming to the client side part. Yeah, so we have 4 pages: batched upload, insurance queue, manual submit, and rules viewer. uh, Later in this video, I will show how does our front end look and how it operates. Then falling into the component section, yeah, it is basic. So batched upload, and yeah, these are the 4 pages that we will navigate in our front end to make it possible to work. Then we have a config file, or let's say the rules file. So this file is the key factor. This makes our logic independent from our code base. So, like, if in future I want to make changes that its priority should go to 1 instead of 10, or the weight value should be 10, or something else, having less than or greater than, and changing any name, so we can make all these configuration changes directly into our rules file. Okay, so this is covered, and moving to the front end part. Yeah, so this is our front end. I have used a standard minimal UI for building the front end. So this is clean UI that we are using. Manual submit part. Now the key thing is add attribute. So sometimes there can be extra information along with the key information that will go into the add attributes. For example, we have weights, value, destination, and here we can add, like, the type of product or anything. So that is the liberty I have added. Then we have batched upload, where we can just upload our XML file, and it will be processed as a batch request. Then insurance queue shows the application. It shows the products that are waiting for validation, and rules viewer, it should be full. Okay, so let me start the server. It will be more clear. So npm run start. Oh, sorry, npm run dev. Front end is working fine. backend is starting. So let's start with the rules viewer. So as you can see, the rules that we were having in our config folder under the rules.json file, it's viewed for a normal person visiting the website to view and like understand the logic that we are using. So let's add some manual data over here. Let me increase it a bit. Perfect. 4.5. Yeah, so you can see it goes under the role 2 and it goes into the regular department. Yeah, and our expectations for it should go into the regular department. Now something we want to see if it is for insurance. So only the 1500 price should be greater than. Yeah, so you can see we have, it shows that pending insurance approval. And if I go into my insurance queue, these are some earlier data that I used while testing the application. If it wasn't, let me add another 2.2. Price will be 2500. Let's keep it T. Yeah, so you can see it is automatically pulled without making any external or continuous request in a front end. And if I'm approving it, yeah, it has been approved. 3 pendings. Even if I go into my database, I will see this data available in my database. Then coming to the batch upload. So I have already created a file. Yeah, test.xml, and it will show the result of overall batch, something like a metadata. So you can see 9 parcels are routed and 2 are pending. Okay, the number does not match. I will fix this later after this video. And you can see the insurance queue. The number of products waiting for verification has increased. Yes, so this was the overall front end. Now coming to how I've used AI for building this entire application. So as you go into my repository, yes. So yeah, I have created a context.md file, or let's say it is a file that I have created initially that acts as brain of my entire application. It has the system design, the rules that I'm using, the databases, the languages, the APIs, and everything whatever is needed for building an application. So you can call it a brain or a PRD document that is used by me as well as agent to make sure everyone is on the same page. And I have taken like huge amount of time to make sure this context file is fulfills all the requirement of our application and it is standard. Then coming part of how I used AI to building, how I used AI to build this application. So I have used two ways. The first is like I have used this standard chat interface of anti-gravity, and I have also used the GitHub CLI. So GitHub CLI models I've used is Codex 5.2, and other model I've used is Sonnet and Opus from Anthropic. So as you can see, I have logged the prompt that I have used, and this is the response created by the AI agent telling that what it has created. And below is what changes I have made as a person to make sure everything stays aligned and the code quality is mint. So what I changed and why is the things that I have done. If any changes were required, I did it. So few examples is like handling the test cases and adding some edge cases, then creating the modularity by moving the rate limiter from standard application that AI given code to making is as an middleware. So these are the few things of how I built the application, what was my system design, and how I use the logic. Yeah, so this is overall. Thank you so much.